and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to Outdoors People with me, CW Getz, and her, Maya Marzaki. Good evening. It's Wednesday, August 2nd, 2023. We've got a beautiful, I think it's beautiful, 83 degree Fahrenheit overcast day. Got a little humidity going on, so your underwear are a little sticky, but you know how that is when it sticks to you. We won't go any further. Anyway, but that is 29 degrees Celsius for the rest of the world. What do you got here in Sao Paulo, Brazil?
So warm in there. Here feels much better. It's a lovely day of winter with 24 degrees Celsius. And for UCW, United States, 74 degrees Fahrenheit.
Man, I'm getting good at this because I was thinking that sounds about like 74 degrees. So that's good. Yeah. I'm going to convert. Yeah, I'm going to start converting my everything to Celsius, man. I'm just getting used to it. And I got to tell you something. I have spoken to more Portuguese people in the past 2 weeks. I'm starting to talk. I'm starting to sound like you Portuguese or your Brazilian people. I'm telling you, I'm starting to pick up your lingo and your.
Yeah. Are you learning Portuguese or are you getting Portuguese accent in your English?
I'm saying words like Chicago and things like that. I don't know where that got. What the hell that come from? Yeah, it's getting the accent, I think. And if I remember correctly, young lady, you said about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago now, time flies. You said you will never copy my Brazilian accent, and I'm thinking I am, and not on purpose either. I'm just picking this up, man. Yeah.
But actually, you are the first North American who could copy the Brazilian accent. I saw many people trying, but you got it.
Because I drink Heineken.
You are the best.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, thank you. I appreciate. I'll take that as a compliment. So yeah, very good.
Of course.
Well, boy, tonight's guest, I can hear him back there chugging the liquor as we speak, man. Can you hear it?
No, it's me.
Oh, is that you? Okay. Well, I knew it was coming from somewhere. I wasn't sure where, but yeah. Okay. Well, goodness. Let's get this train back on the track. So yeah. Well, tonight's episode of Outdoors People is brought to you by Rutabaga Paddle Sports, providing time on the water.
By Campground Views, making camping easier.
By Duluth Pack, made in the USA since 1882.
And by Jackson Kayak, pursuing joy through paddle sports.
Tonight's episode is What's Going On in Canada, with our special guest, Kevin Callan. Kevin Callan, a.k.a. the Happy Camper, is the author of 18 books. He is an award-winning writer and a keynote speaker at outdoor events across North America and is also a regular guest on several television morning shows and CBC Radio. Kevin has several film awards to his credit and writes a column for Paddling Magazine and Explore Magazine. He was listed as one of the top 100 modern-day explorers by the Canadian Geographical Society, and was made patron paddler for Paddle Canada. And with that, welcome to the show, Mr. Kevin. Hey, yeah, he's got it. I told you, somebody was clinking bottles, man, and I heard him. And nothing better than Old Forester. I love that. Yeah,
he knows you very well.
Yeah, but I think didn't they name that after Cliff Jacobson? Wasn't that what we came to the conclusion?
I got that because he was a Forester and I was a Forester, so we're not Foresters now, but we can drink it.
Yes, I think it's most appropriate that you do. And I think it was funny. We were on a show and you said, "Look, because you were an Old Forester." I love that. It was great. Hey, you were just talking first of all, what's your weather like up there? And I know it's going to start with smoky and then the temperature. So
we're not sending any smoke to the United States. I don't know what you're talking about. There's no fires in Canada.
Yeah, I know we got free delivery of it. We didn't order it.
No,
Came
it's brutal.
COD though, because it cost us
Free
something.
shipping.
All right. Oh,
No, it's terrible. I mean, the forest fires have kind of depleted a little bit in Ontario, but across Canada, no.
oh wow.
It's a heat wave beyond belief. I mean, yes, I don't have air conditioning because I'm a Canadian writer, so I make no money. And I got to tell you,
American writers say the same thing, Kevin. So it's all good.
if you wanted to find Canada right now and being a Canadian writer, so last week, Thursday was the hottest day, I think, in the world, record in the world. It was really hot here. So let's say for in Celsius, it was like basically 34 without the humidity. So it was like 48, whatever. And then I got a job on CBC Radio, which is our big radio across Canada, from 2:30 in the afternoon till 7:30 at night, talking about the dangers of actually traveling the wilderness during, major firestorms and big whatever. Oh yeah, I'll take that job. Yeah.
Oh.
So they're paying me too.
Sure,
so,
absolutely.
but it was radio, and this is why you guys would love this story. This is a Kevin moment. So I went to do the whole thing, like again, 2:30 to 7:30, nonstop across Canada. I only had 2 breaks, and those breaks were 7 minutes long. And I went, great, okay, no problem, I can do that. And then the radio audio person said, what's the noise in the background? I go, well, those are my fans. I don't have air conditioning, so I need fans. They're like, yeah, we can't have that, Kevin. The audio is terrible. What? So I can't believe I told telling the story. I actually told myself not to tell the story, but I'm going to tell it. I stood in the kitchen, got a jug of water, stripped to my underwear, and I did 24 interviews across Canada live about how great Canada is. And by the halfway through, Yellowknife sort of said, well, what's up with you? And I said, well, I don't have air conditioning, so I'm kind of naked here. And they thought it was funny, so went across Canada. I got more attention because I was almost naked in my kitchen than what I was talking about on the radio.
Well, I think that is probably more of a popular subject, wouldn't you say? I mean, everybody talks about the weather, but how many guys are in their boxers? I'm assuming you were in your boxers.
I was in my boxers.
Yeah.
I'm a boxer, not brief, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, boxers. the ones you can, the ones you can actually be seen with, and not be too embarrassed, because you
can say it. You can say it's your swim shorts. If you get
exactly, because there really isn't a big difference. But when there's nothing like wearing the whitey tighties.
Oh no, not
there's
a
no mistaking those.
No. Well, if I would do it maybe in a Halloween as a joke.
Hey, we've got, you know what? Did we look? I didn't even catch it because I was reading, because I do that on this show. Did we get the picture? Or maybe we didn't. I think it's maybe going to be a surprise. So never mind. There's something coming up. Yeah.
I love pictures and surprises.
You'll never mind. I'm not going to say anymore. No, okay, here he is. Juan says we have it. I love it. Coming up.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not going to give you more away. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Maya.
Yes, guys, it's not personal, but I don't want to talk about your underwear right now. I am sorry. So
just Kevin's underwear, not anybody else.
No, Maya, I always thought you were the most intelligent person in the group.
Sounds like, right? I can pretend very well, actually.
Oh, I love it.
Well, what's the deal with so many people getting lost on wilderness trip in Canada these days?
Yeah, it's a big thing, and that's why I was on CBC Radio. There was a girl, not a woman. She was a preteen, and she was out with a group, and she got separated on a trail out in BC, and she was out for 52 hours trying to find her way back. Wow. And she got herself back. And of course, the big news was, well, how did she get back? Did she do everything proper? And, yes, she did. And yes, she didn't. So we talked about that. And we also found out there was a lot more people this was happening to. And the reason why is there's a lot more people going out. I mean, we're talking 72% increase in popularity on wilderness traveling since the pandemic, because everybody's like, well, wilderness makes me calm. I'm high anxiety and I hate the pandemic, and now I'm allowed to go free as will. And a lot more people are going camping, canoeing, kayaking, backpacking, also moving up to small northern towns in Canada just to live. And they're saying, I've had it with the city. But
what's that all about? I mean, what's that, like a thing now that everybody's moving out of the city and going to urban areas, or what?
It's huge.
Rural areas?
Well, two things are happening. One is they've had enough with the city. They can't afford the city right now in Canada.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you know about what's going on in Canada, but to buy an apple, I'd have
No,
to.
that's why you're on the show. You're going to tell us about what's going on in Canada.
Oh, it's insane.
Nice. You the tea.
Oh, just to get an apple, I bought an apple the other day for $4.99. One apple, right?
Wow.
And I went to get a steak.
Wow.
The steak, it was just a mini steak. It was $52.
Oh, you're making that up.
No, and nobody's going to buy that, so it's going to be tossed in the garbage. Well,
You
maybe
didn't
the
get it. Wait a
millionaires
minute.
are going to buy
That's
that.
at the grocery store you're talking about.
Yeah.
I thought maybe like at a restaurant that's even expensive. At a grocery
No,
store?
nobody goes to restaurants now because the restaurants can't afford to even buy them, and they're all going out of business, right? So
Wow.
no, it's like you think after the pandemic we'd be like, woo, and now we're like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but we're surviving like we all do, right?
So everybody's moving out of the city and they're going rural. And, I mean, the rent's obviously cheaper and things like that. So what happens then when everybody moves out of the city? Is the price drop? People being greedy? I mean, what is that?
I think eventually you look at the history, it will drop. You look at even the history of camping. Every time there was a pandemic or there was a world war or recession, people went in the droves out into the woods because it was cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And also because they had nothing else they could do. And also they want to rejuvenate their emotional, their mental and physical health.
Well-being. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and that's been going on forever. So that happened during the pandemic. What's going on now, though, is now we can travel. So the hordes are saying, oh, maybe I can go to Mexico and go for a holiday instead of going to Algonquin Park, which will cost 5 times the amount.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's true. It's true. You could actually, if I was living in Toronto, I could go to some resort in Mexico for 7 days, and it would be a quarter of the price for me than it would.
Oh,
be
you're kidding.
Yeah. Than me
Yeah.
go camping 20 minutes from my house.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
Why exactly is that? I mean, is it park fees and things, or what is that?
Well, everything's going up in price, right? And then we're having that issue with the recession, and the interest rates are going up more and more.
Right.
Nobody can ever buy a house. I mean, I'm going to go on a 2-year canoe trip because that's affordable.
I love it. Well, and you were just telling us today, and this is a little off the subject, but your air conditioning went out, you broke your glasses, and what else was it?
Oh, well, that's
your
what
water
happens
heater.
too. Like everybody in life, like things happen, right? And things happen, thankfully, in threes. Hope whatever. But I was doing okay. Like I don't make too much money, but I'm frugal.
But you're doing okay. Yeah,
I got a half Scottish in me and then Irish, so I'm frugal.
you're good.
Every time I spend good money is in Scotch. So
That's where it counts.
it is. But what happened was, things happened. So my back bearings went because I was traveling doing work, and that was $1,200.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then my glasses broke, and because I do TV, I have to have that non-glare. So instead of $250, it was $800.
Oh,
And my heating tank blew or erupted. I wouldn't say blew.
your water heater
today, and that was I don't know how much. I don't know. I'm owing over 6,000.
We're going to do a little GoFundMe for Kevin Callan right now, and you can send that to Happy Camper at what is it?
Well, thank goodness I'm a best-selling author in Canada.
Yes.
I'm millions.
Oh man, you know what? It does suck when things happen like that all the time.
No, and I think going back to what you're talking about, I think that's really important to talk about. It's like that we all can make it work. Everybody's like, oh gosh, times are tight, and then they go off to camping because it's relatively cheap comparatively. But then things happen where all of a sudden you're like, I didn't know that. And Chris, thank God for line of credit. I don't know if you have that in the United States, but you just go to the bank.
Yeah.
I'm poor, like, can I have money? And but going back to the whole thing is like, I think really people are getting depressed as well because more and more people are going into the woods right now. But whether it's global warming or whatever, but something's happening. I mean, I'm old enough, I'm going to be 60 this fall, that I can tell you that I've never had this experience in my life where it's so hot, you don't want to go camping. The bugs are so bad, you don't want to go camping. There's so many wildfires everywhere. You're not allowed to go camping. And then when you go camping, the people you meet are self-interest idiots that you want to run away from.
Like not the kind that we used to encounter in the outdoors community. The nice people do anything for you, help you change a flat tire in your car, anything like that. Not like that anymore. or not getting to be?
Yes. I'm always a positive person. So I'm saying all those.
Realistic. Everybody's positive. I get that, but let's tell it like it is, as Howard Cosell used to say. What's going on? What do we need to change?
It's a friggin' nightmare. I am not a cranky old man. I'm old man, but I'm not cranky. And I went camping last week, and it was at a campground. So not back country, it was a front country, basically because of what we were doing. I couldn't stand it. Like, just in a 12-hour period, I dealt with so many things, and nothing was done about it. That's the thing, right? So I got to the campsite. Our neighbors left, and we just got off the fire ban, probably because of tourism. Even though it's like heat wave still, tourism. I think when I said, have your campfires at the campgrounds, and they left a burning massive fire going and just drove away.
They left the fire and the campground.
So it's like, well, that's wrong. And then the next campsite before that, they left all their gear. Like, there was cheap tents that they got at, Walmart and stuff like that. It was almost like a rave. Almost like a rave happened. Like, we had the party, we're leaving, we're going to leave everything behind. And that's what they did.
Whoa.
And I went, what are we doing here? And then I happened to see the maintenance person from Ontario Parks, and I love Ontario Parks, so I'm not knocking them. But the reality of it is, this is what happened to me. So they need to know this is what happened to me.
Absolutely.
I went to the maintenance people and I said, hey, this is what happened. And they're like, well, they're gone now. What's your problem?
Oh, jeez.
And maybe it was the individual, but I was like, but it got worse. So then we got to the campsite, and there was the neighbors up the way had their dogs off the leash, and I'm pretty open-minded with dogs too. My dog's border collie, really well trained, whatever. But there's a certain point where there's a law for a reason. You don't go through a red light at midnight because you might hit someone and kill them.
Sure.
You think you're above the law. So anyway, what happened was that one dog snuck up through the grass and went to attack my dog Angel.
Oh.
And so I very calmly went crazy and went
crazy.
And I told the dog to get out and got very aggressive, which is what you're supposed to do, or leave. But I couldn't. It was like that moment. And the dog did that growl with the teeth, like the. I went, okay, this is not good. So I went
serious one. Yeah.
And the owner said, what are you doing to my dog? I went, what do you mean what I'm doing to your dog? And so I said, I'm going to call the warden. And so they called the dog back, and I haven't heard a word. I actually did a video on it. I was on radio about it, and I haven't heard a word from Ontario Parks about that incident.
No.
So what do you see? And I mean, to sum that up in a nutshell, because, obviously nobody wants to be negative, and I get it, but you know what? Let's be real. And like Howard Cosell, tell it like it is. And here's the thing. If you got a problem, let's bring it out in the open. Let's fix it. I mean, you can't fix anything you don't acknowledge, right? Is wrong. But so in a nutshell, what would you say? What's going on? Is it like a general attitude of people this summer, or what?
Yeah, self-indictment. But I learned a lot from interviewing hermits a few years back. I interviewed a whole bunch of hermits on separate interviews.
Wait, you say hermits or just hermits?
Like living in the woods, hermits by themselves.
Okay. All right. Nobody famous. All right.
And it was a great job. I went to interview them, and I asked them a bunch of questions. And I said, what will happen to humans? And all of them on separate interviews, there were 7 of them individuals across Canada. And they all said self-interest will be the demise of the human species.
Wow. Yeah. And
that's what happened on that campsite. I tell you that, because they all thought of themselves, nobody else. Right.
No, what do you get from, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I'm asking, is that just what you're hearing about in Canada, or is that happening like everywhere in the world?
I'm not that worldly, but I would say everywhere. I think in Canada, we're more shocked because we're known to be really nice people. They weren't nice people I met.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say, actually. So I can see here in Brazil that the small community of like outdoors people, it is not that small anymore. So back then, people who like camping and doing like outdoors and stuff, they knew how to do, and they would care about the environment and about other people. But now, because everyone wanted to go out and camping, like city people are going, and they don't know anything about how to behave with another people, what to do in like in a camping space, how to do not disturb the like the environment in general. So that's what I'm seeing right now. Like people who like usually would never go outdoors, they are going now because of the pandemic and because everyone is going anyways. So we are facing that too here as well, like the same problem.
Yeah, I would say, and it's certainly, I'm glad you brought that up too, because what I'm seeing, it's not a cultural thing that's happening in Canada. Some people will come up to me, not a lot, but will come up to me and say, well, we have a lot of new Canadians coming into Canada. It's their fault because they don't know any better. And I went, actually, it's not those people that I see at all. It's actually, I hate to say this, but it's white privileged people from the city that are doing it.
Yeah,
Is what it is,
totally.
right?
And
Yes, that's my point.
it's so bizarre. And it goes back to history. So we always learn from history. So in history, when this happened in the government and in park system, and it always has happened, they had to boost two things. One is education, meaning tell people, no, hey, you don't do that. You don't wash your dishes in the lake. You actually don't leave garbage behind. And the other is actually, if that doesn't work, enforcement. And it's always enforcement the second, not the first, right? If you do enforcement, because usually those people that don't know any better, if you educate them, then we'll progress as a society. But if you force them right away, they'll be rebellious, right? And so it's one of those things where I was wondering why during the pandemic nobody was being enforced. So I did find out through some park wardens I knew personally, not through the government itself, but just personally, because I teach a lot of students like that to go into that program. Yeah. And they said they weren't allowed to because of the pressure that was put on, and also because of staff shortages and everything else, right? I went, well, that's kind of wrong because I'm paying a good price to be camping here, and I get a bunch of people like pooping on the campsite in a front country campsite right beside the trail. Like, you need to find them. Well, Kevin, I went, well, no. Well, Kevin, like they're pooping. People don't poop. Well, sorry, I get all actually, but then what's happening now is I heard through the grapevine, that the wardens now are allowed to find them, and they're happy as hell. They're going, let's go. We're doing it. And then when you're looking at social media, you're finding those people getting very upset. There was some woman on social media the other day getting very upset that she got pulled over by a park warden. And who did he think? Was he the police? Yes, he is the police.
You think?
In Canada, when you're in a park, that warden has the same legal ability.
Yeah, sure.
Than a police officer. And what she was doing was wrong. So she deserved the fine. What did she say? Well, can I fight this? And a whole bunch of people on social media saying, well, yeah, you fight it and you'll probably win.
Really?
Well, the answer is, but you did wrong already.
Yeah,
right?
Kevin, let me play devil's advocate here. I think that's the word, the term that fits. And I'm going to count myself in on this because, the camping show, we advocated camping. I mean, it was just what we did. Did we shoot ourselves in the foot?
No, we didn't. And you must know that. You must know that we actually did a lot of good, because let's do a number game and also look at history. My life has been dedicated to get people out in the outdoors. Mm-hmm. So if I said what I've done right now is wrong, why would I have spent my entire career? Well, let's do a number game. If this happened and we got 72% more people out, and then things went back to somewhat normal, and a lot of those people didn't try camping anymore, but we saved at least 10 or 12% of those become true campers, then they're going to go out in the next 5 years, and then they're going to protect the wilderness more ever than we ever needed before. So I would say that this is a good thing, not a bad thing.
Well, and I get that because of what the numbers that have increased numbers out there. Would you say that there's anything that could have been done to because and I'll kind of explain what I mean here. We tried to educate you. Spent your life, you dedicated your life to this. All your adult life. And I tried to do that, through the camping show, our last show. Do you think somehow that any of that failed because we have what we have, or do you just think it's that's something that you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make him drink? I guess is that this.
Yeah. There's a thing of frustration too. Like, I think a lot of people just got frustrated with it, and also because of social media, we're allowed to frustrate more because we have more people listening to us, right?
Yeah,
and that's always a good and bad thing. But the other thing about that is that I think going back, it's still a positive thing, because if you look at the programs in the 70s and the 50s, they did educational programs. But I think what really went wrong is they started it too late. Oh, surprise, surprise, the government was too slow reacting.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before. And I think what's going on now is that they finally have heard the client base saying enough is enough. And then if they don't do anything about it, then nobody's going to go camping anymore. Because why would you go camping when your neighbor is the person of the devil? Like, why would you?
But yeah, absolutely. It's too bad. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like those, I'm sorry, but you told that those white people from the city who are going outdoors and camping and they are doing that, they don't feel like they need to know anything else because in the cities, the trash will be taken care, like the food, the garbage, the poop. So they pretend that they are living in the city when they are camping, so they don't feel the need of reading like informations and getting better and becoming a real camper. And something else, I think that the next year they will just stop camping. It is just this moment.
Yeah, I remember
right.
20 years ago, I was on in backcountry canoe trip in the middle of nowhere, and I found people ahead of us being very unethical. And because there was a storm, and we traveled through the storm, so we met them. And this was 20 years ago. It wasn't now. And they were doing terrible things. And their answer to me when I said, hey, you guys can't be doing this. This is kind of unethical. Yeah. And they're like, we're never coming back here. We're just putting it on our to-do list that we actually went down the river. We're never going to come back. So who really cares?
Oh my gosh, that's so selfish.
It's a bucket list thing for them.
Yeah. And I think that's a huge thing. Well, maybe last year more than this year, but it was a bucket list to say, I went wilderness camping. And again, I'm not knocking that because, again, it's great that they did that. And hopefully maybe they'll hook a couple of them to keep going out. But a lot of them are just saying, well, I did that. And they'll do a Instagram shot of it and then life will go on. And we're all sheep. We're all sheep. Right?
That's fine. You can do your list and go wherever you want to go, but leave the place exactly how you found. Don't leave your trash. Don't do like those things outdoors, people. This is so selfish.
There's a right way and a wrong way. Yeah.
I've even met people that actually have done that wrong. And I said, and they got the fine. And it's pretty small in Canada. So I think it was one guy left a bunch of garbage on his campsite in the interior of Algonquin, and they found him because he had a receipt.
Nice move.
They got him, and it was $150. That was crazy. It was $150, and then he goes, "Well, I'll probably find it, but if not, it's $150." Like, what's that?
Well, they just don't care.
So, yeah.
Well, we are going to a little break, so don't go away because we have some pictures and videos to look up. So we will be back after these messages.
A few years ago, someone asked Rutabaga's owner, Darren Bush, "Hey, how long have you guys been selling boats?" Darren replied, "Well, we don't sell boats. We sell time on the water." Of course, that comes in all types. We help people paddle more safely with Rutabaga outdoor programs. We rent canoes, kayaks, and stand-up paddleboards. We sell and install racks to get you from home to adventure. Rutabaga's got everything you need to get you out on the water, like paddles, life jackets, dry bags, and clothing. Rutabaga Paddle Sports, on the web at rutabaga.com. Mention you saw this ad on The Camping Show.
It is time to go camping. Introducing Campground View's virtual tours. You can tour the campground, see the sites, see if they are available, and click to book your perfect spot. Hit the open road and explore the amazing places found in nature. We make it easy to discover, find, and book your site so that you can go have the fun and freedom you seek. Campground View's virtual tours make it easy and simple for you to see where you are going.
Duluth Pack is handcrafted for every lifestyle, making memories since 1882. In store at 365 Canal Park Drive or online at duluthpack.com.
We're one big family, a community of paddlers, and we want to make sure that everyone has a great time out on the water.
We are made right here in Sparta, Tennessee, USA.
This is where every Jackson kayak is born, built by hand with a focus on innovation.
We are Jackson Kayak.
We are
Jackson Kayak.
We're Jackson Kayak.
We are Jackson Kayak.
And we're back with Kevin Callan. You know, I wanted to mention, we just watching that commercial. we are talking with Emily Jackson, another world champion freestyle kayaker, about doing a remote broadcast there at the Jackson Kayak Factory. If anybody has any comments about that, hey, you know what? We're just talking about it right now. So send Jackson Kayak a little, say, hey, we'd love to see that that interview in the tour of the factory, a little short tour. So we're looking at November for that. Actually, what I'd really love to do is to get Dane, her brother Dane. I say he's 14-time world champion freestyle kayak. Get the both of those, the both of them in the same interview at the same time. That would be wonderful. So try to coordinate that if you can. Yeah.
How cool.
I know, right? So it'd just be oozing with world championship in that interview. All right, we got some pictures, kids. Let's take a look at what we got here, and I know that this will be. I'll go. Let's just look.
Bum, bum, bum.
Oh, man.
That is illegal.
What an apple! Look at apple of a hiney, as Al Bundy used to say.
Yeah, I haven't changed it yet.
You know, this is kind of this is like what porno outdoor, isn't it? Outdoor porno or whatever they call it.
Oh, where did my mother send you that?
You know something I can't say, because then that would kind of ruin my connection that I have here. But yeah, we did acquire this picture, and we thought, what a more appropriate time to debut this than on the show with you. I honestly, it's funny because it's in color. It seems like it's in color. And we were, because photos were black and white when we were kids. Kevin.
I'm not that old. It's in color. I got red hair, all of them.
Come on.
Yeah, I think you're actually. I just discovered you're a few months older than I am, because I won't be 60 until 39 until April.
That's funny.
Oh
man.
Oh guys.
Oh, there's my buddy and I. Oh, that was a good day.
Is this is this summer though, right?
That was recently. Yeah, we did an amazing trip. Well, he didn't think so, but
there's a story.
Well, good for you.
Well, the quick version of that is there's a river. Actually, it's really good for you as Americans to hear this story in Canada. Really important. So I did this river in southeastern Ontario, which is near Ottawa, called the Mississippi River. Not your Mississippi River, our Mississippi.
Okay.
And not many people know about it. It's 200 kilometers long. So it's a good river. It starts near Bon Echo Park and ends in the Ottawa River. And it is somewhat wilderness, and sometimes, and then you go through cow pastures and you go through subdivisions. And I thought, that's a good story. That's a Huck Finn story. I'm doing that. And then Andy goes, my buddy goes, well, I'm going to go with you. I went, oh, I don't think you want to do this trip. Oh, and 3 days of the 8 days, he goes, no, you're right. I don't want to do this trip.
Oh, wow. Now he's there. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Andy. We've heard a lot about Andy.
Andy's hilarious. He's gone on many trips with me, and really silly trips too at times. But I'm a writer and film person, whatever. So I'll do something for the story, and he just goes along. And but we ran out of water. It was early June. There should have been water, but we walked most of that 200-kilometer river.
Oh,
so,
wow!
Yeah.
Wow. How do you run out of water on a river trip?
I was thinking about that.
Maybe because obviously you mean potable water, but you have your filter and whatnot.
It was early June, so it should be in the high water. But actually, it's funny. I talked to the First Nation elder after that, and I said, well, there wasn't a lot of history of the First Nations people going up in the Mississippi. They did the Madawaska, and she very calmly said, yes, because it's our name for that river is river of little water because 400 years ago it still didn't have much water. I went,
Yeah.
you could have told me that before the trip.
Yeah. Well, and at first I'm going, wait a minute, he ran out of water. I mean, there's a river, but maybe he meant potable water. But wait a minute, he's Mr. Outdoors. How did you?
No, we dragged that boat. In fact, I brought a brand new Norcraft Tough Stuff, a brand new that Chris, the owner of the company, gave it to me and just say, give it a try. And I gave it back to him. There's a great video on my KC Happy Camper channel with me returning it. It's scratched all the heck, right? And I thought he was going to beat the heck out of me. And he goes, well, did Tough Stuff work? I went, yep.
Yeah. so way better than Royal X then.
No, Rolex would have been fine too, but you can't get that anymore. But also, it's too heavy. I mean, the canoe, there was 32 portages, so I'm too old to do that. So having that Tough Stuff was like, I'm guessing 54 pounds or whatever.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
It was a godsend. Yeah, I love that canoe. I borrowed it from him though, so I had to give it back to him.
Well, if he hasn't sent you a bill yet, there's no,
No, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the only 5 arch bridge. I think it was like probably 150 years old, 180 years old in North America, and that was on our route. So we portaged around it and took pictures and said cool, and read it and said that that's the last bridge of its kind, and then a whole big transport truck drove over it, and I filmed it thinking maybe it would collapse.
You're going there. That's the oldest 5. What do you call that? A 5 arch bridge in North America?
Bridge in North America. Yeah.
Really? And where's that located again? You said
that was near the end of the trip. And the cool thing is we started the trip.
But I mean, what city is that near? What would you call it?
Near Ottawa. Yeah.
Near Ottawa.
Near the head honcho city of Canada. Yeah. But where we started on the Mazenot Lake, which actually had 250 native paintings that were the most collection of petroglyphs in all of North America. So to start a trip where you have all these native paintings of North America and then finishing it at a bridge of North America, that was kind of a cool trip. I loved it. I loved it. I think Annie probably won't be a friend for a while, but
no, but that had to be very memorable. I mean, that kind of stuff is very cool.
Oh, it's great. We slept in a treehouse one night because I think why it's really important to tell you guys about this trip is that I was told not to do the trip, but it was the first recreational trip promoted in Canada in 1910. And I've always wanted to do it, but I was told that it's run a lot by private landowners. So a lot of private landowners own portages. But we created a law in Canada in 1882, and you guys tell me what you guys did in the United States. But in 1882, we created the Navigable Waters Act. And what happened is 2 logger barons, one logger baron created a whole bunch of stuff to move his logs, and another logger used those. And he goes, "You can't do that." And he goes, "Well, you can't own a river. That's illegal." So it went to court, and the guy that actually didn't build the timber baron stuff won. So that meant that everybody can use a river in Canada since 1882 as long as you can actually navigate a canoe on it. That was a law that was created, and we still abide by that law. So when I was told not to do this river because it's all privately owned, I went, catch me if you can.
Yeah. And as far as I understand it here, and we went around this with Round and Round locally too. The way I understand it, if it's still the same, is you can float, any stream, river, but if it's privately owned, on the banks or anything, you cannot. And if the water's not deep enough, first time you step out of the boat and you hit land to ride your canoe, you're breaking a law. And you don't go to the banks, you don't go to the shore, you're breaking a law. So if you stay in the water, because you can't own a river, nobody owns water. Okay.
Yeah.
But at least not in a stream or whatever. So that's kind of how it is from the way I understand it. And if I'm not, I'm sure people will let me know. But
we have the same thing too, where I didn't worry about us getting in trouble because if we didn't portage around through the private land, we would just walk the river. And by law, 66 feet, which is a chain, which is during the war of 1812.
Unit of measure. Yep.
Yeah, 20 meters, right? And nobody owns from that there. But the portaging thing is a different thing in Canada. If it's a historic river, and the portage was always there, who actually allowed that landowner to own the portage?
There is. It's a great question. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I gotta say, I'm always a nicey person. We didn't have any problems, but the editor for Explorer magazine, they pay me to do the story, and they said it'd be great, Kevin, if someone chases you after you with a shotgun. That'd be great. And so, and there was a couple times where I had to get out and ask directions and a bunch of things, and the landowners were great. In fact, our last night we stayed on an estate, some millionaire's property. We stayed in his pine plantation. And he invited us up for drinks, which is way up in a hill. And lovely guy. And I gotta say, I've never said this before at all, but I gotta say it to you guys. Like, what happens when you stay on someone's private property and in the morning you have to poop?
Wow.
Question.
It's in a state of acres and acres. He would never see me. He would never know where I did it.
I think an experienced camper would probably ask Kevin, like, the night that you are up there having drinks. And by the way, if I have to poop in the morning, where would I do that? Where would you recommend?
I would actually ask that question. But Andy had to go too, and we sort of had a discussion about it. It was on, and I said,
did you say Andy had to go too? Because I figured that.
Yeah, and we didn't go side by side. We split. We're good. And so it was funny. It's like, we know how to deal with this stuff. Like, nobody's going to find it. We were going to bury it, and we're not going to be unethical. Yeah. But it's just awkward.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. Totally get it. Yeah, that's an interesting question.
Oh, that's the treehouse we stayed in. Yes.
Oh, nice. That's so cute.
It was all private property, so we can't legally camp. I get that. We can't legally camp anywhere if it's private property unless you have permission. So I thought outside the box, right? So I got this Airbnb. It was a treehouse along the river. And
that's so cool.
Yeah, I love that. It was like a man's cave beyond man's cave. There was like every single album that you would know, CW, was on the wall. Like Led Zeppelin, Blondie. There was a Marlon Brando poster. There was everything. There was dead animals everywhere.
I'm seeing furniture, and I'm seeing, what is it, has it got electricity in there?
It's off the grid, so it's whatever, solar, whatever. And then where you actually, again, we're talking about poop, but where you pooped was actually in sawdust.
It was where?
It was in sawdust. It was a decomposed, whatever.
Oh, wow. Yeah. They had decomposed stuff.
Every single book you can imagine there. They had DVDs. They had cassette tapes.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. You're talking about all these albums and stuff. Obviously, there's a player somewhere.
Yeah, there was. And so we spent the night eating dehydrated food, listening to NXS and the Cranberries.
That is so fancy. It's like a gambling.
Yeah. It was an amazing place. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Next time, you can invite me for sure. I am going.
You would love it. I would go back there for a holiday in a second. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's Crotch Lake.
What is that in the middle? Gilligan's Island out there?
That's
what is
something I don't know, but it's just so much giggles. We our second night, or maybe our third night, I can't remember. We stayed at it was a conservation area where you book a campsite, and we were actually kind of in the middle of nowhere, somewhat there, and but it's called Crotch Lake. And I found out the history of it is back in the 1800s, the township north of it was called Belly Button Center.
Belly Button.
So that's why that lake is called Crotch Lake.
Wow.
So what happened was it rained for 2 days solid by the time we got there, and we both had mold on our crotches. So
what do you do when it's raining for 2 days up there and you're like in the middle of you obviously have enough food to just sit around and eat and play cards all day, right?
No, well, on that trip, that was the problem with that trip. I overextended ourselves for distances. So we had to leave way before 8 in-the-morning, and we didn't make camp until 5:36 at night. We're doing 24 to 36 kilometers a day because we had to make time on the river, and there was no water to run the rapids, so we were walking. So there was no leisurely time. But I got to say, we had a heat wave before that, and we finally got some rain, even though the fire ban wasn't lifted during that. But it rained, of the 8 days, it rained 6 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but you just deal with it. Andy and I deal with it in a very good way. We just laugh. We have a good sense of humor, and just said, hey, we chose to be out here. Let's have
and being with the right person. I mean, a person that's enjoyable to be with in situations like that makes all the difference in the world. I found
it really does. It really does. Like even if you're by yourself, like if you're by yourself, if you don't like yourself, don't go in a circle.
That'll laugh. That's happened.
Such a good job.
Is this the?
That's a boat. That's a brand new boat on day 4. Look at it. Look at it. Like,
whoa.
That's the tough stuff, right?
It is just quiet.
We did. Well, we didn't. It just scratches. They're
Why does that look like Kevlar? Is it Kevlar?
No, it's a replica of
the black gold.
Yeah, so it's supposed to be used in rapids.
Okay.
Yeah,
but it's just okay. That's just an aesthetic thing. That's because it looks like the old black gold from the Bell canoes.
Well, that's their new thing they had out last year. Novacraft created what's called a clear mold, and there's no paint on it. And I love it because you can actually see the reflection of the landscape along it while you're paddling. I love that canoe. And it just, it went through a lot of stuff. And but I call it wrinkles, storylines.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah, that was we had 2 people join us along the way, which I didn't really know too much about. They just said, "Hey, Kevin, we're going to join you for a day trip." I went, "Okay."
Whoa.
And we went down one section they thought they could run all the whitewater, but it was mostly waterfall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was an interesting day. They dragged their boat quite a bit, but I didn't.
Are you using the? Oh, go ahead, Kevin. Go ahead.
So we started portaging it, and it was funny that they were all ready to run rapids. So I don't find running rapids, but this section here, I don't think you can run anything. This is all the logging chutes and stuff. And so we ended up. I finally had to say to them, "We're canoe tripping for 8 days. You're here for the day. Like you do your thing, I'll do ours, and we're fine." And there's Andy. Oh, I would say 80% of the trip is right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right after that, he said, "Look over to your left shoulder, and there's a water snake." And I don't like snakes. And
you're not a snake person either. Interesting.
Oh, I jumped, and water snakes are aggressive. They're not poisonous, but they're aggressive.
Right.
And I jumped more, and then I injured my knee. And actually, after the trip, I had to go see a doctor for it. And thanks a lot for that snake.
I would have probably taken the snake, going by the snake, and you would have injured yourself probably a lot less, if at all.
Yeah, I think the snake had the last laugh.
Say. He goes, look at this guy.
Yeah, humans, self-interest.
Yeah. Look at this is a posed picture here, man. The 2, what is it? The merry men. Looks like the 2 merry men.
It is true. Like I would say, if we're back in the old times and we're in a battle, I'd be the guy, the hyper guy with a dagger stabbing everybody, and he would have the battle axe.
The battle axe. I love it. All right, what do we got here? We're running low on time here. Actually, we're out of time. What do we got here? Let's see.
Yeah, a great American tent, Mountain Hardware, and I got that in the spring, and they wanted me to test out, and it again rained for many days, and I wrote the company and said, "Yeah, I love this tent. How much?"
It looks like the right kind of. I mean, everything's down to the ground, right? It's not.
Oh, it was really great, and they also said, well, "What's the main positive thing about it?" I went, "I love the color."
I think the bugs love that color too, if I'm right.
They do. I know.
You've never had good luck with blue. Yeah, it's just.
But you notice that the picture of me with red hair and nudiness, I do have blue eyes.
Oh, that's not good. The bugs come right in your eyes. I have that happen anyway. I have blue eyes.
Oh my gosh, I'm glad to have green eyes.
Oh,
Thanks,
I love it. All right, Kevin, listen. We all know where to go to find you, Casey Happy Camper, right?
Yeah, Casey Happy Camper, and I put out a video series on the Mississippi trip, and it's not the American Mississippi, it's the Canadian one. Check it out. It's hilarious. I loved it. There's so many great scenes. A lot of B-roll. I'll never show anybody.
I love it. Well, I didn't mean to rush you through, but we are out of time, and I don't want to get in trouble. Yeah. So, well, Kevin, thank you for being our guest on Outdoors People. Always a pleasure having you on the show.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Have a good season, eh? Oh, I said hey.
Hey. I told him it was your idea for the show. Like, hey, what's going on in Canada? So it's all good. I love that.
And it's terrible now in Canada. Don't come up here.
And for God's sakes, don't go to the woods.
Yeah,
You do.
please, even less. Well, thank you so much for being here with us. It's a pleasure to have you. I saw all your shows, so it's a pleasure to be here with you now, talking to you, not just listen to you. So thank you very much for being here. And
I can't believe you sat through all those shows.
I did. You were a rock star.
We
Hey,
didn't have to pay her to do that. Yeah, he's a rock star. He is a rock star.
he is a rock star.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey.
Well, we'd also like to thank each of our sponsors for bringing you tonight's show: Rutabaga Pedal Sports, Campground Views, Duluth Pack, and Jackson Kayak.
Be sure to tune in for next week's episode, How Slackline Changed My Life, with Giada Regli. Until then, for Maya Marzaki, this is CW Getz saying thanks for tuning in to Outdoors People. See you next week.
Ciao.